Hello everyone and welcome to Rogers Center here in Toronto, Ontario for the second of 3 games between the New York Yankees and the Toronto Blue Jays. And it's the first game this year on the Virtual Jays Network that the Blue Jays are playing with the Dome open on a sunny Saturday afternoon here in May now. And it'll be Tanner Roark going for the Blue Jays today, looking to avenge, last night's loss.
And not only last night, April 2nd, way back at the beginning of last month, 1 month ago to the day, he faced off against the Yankees and lost a game 5-0, where he went 4 innings, giving up 5 runs, all 5 runs against the game, and his efforts fell short against Masahiro Tanaka, who threw a gem against the Jays, leading to that combined shutout effort by the Yankees pitching staff back 1 month ago today.
First pitch misses. That curveball offering for ball 1, and we are underway here in Toronto underneath the sun for the first time this season, as I mentioned, and a big buzz here in Toronto because of not just the Dome being open, but also the Yankees are in town and they lead the division. As Wade drills that one down the right field line, and he gets himself a leadoff double to start off this ball game.
And wasting no time, just the second offering of the afternoon for Roark. That one's hit hard down the line. Yesterday we saw it was Matt Shoemaker who got jumped on early in the top of the first. It was a Gio Urshela home run and a Luke Voigt double for 2 extra base hits in the top of the first. Here it's Tyler Wade, and yeah, a no doubt stand-up double there for him.
So it's Rosel Herrera, who we did not see yesterday. He's playing first base, switch hitter. And last time against Roark, back a month ago, as you mentioned, he went 1 for 4. Hitting .333 on the year. And that changeup induces strike 2.
Some changes for both teams' lineup today. Rosel Herrera is one of them. For the Jays on defense, a little bit of a different look, as it's Danny Jansen back behind the plate. In right field, slotting in is Anthony Alford. Biggio's back at second base, and Shaw's at third, while Guerrero's DHing because Rowdy Tellez re-enters the lineup at first.
Yeah, a bit more of a different lineup for Montoyo today. He gets Alford in, he gets Tellez in, he gets Biggio back in. So some returning faces to this lineup after some days off. Herrera's in a 2-2 count now. And that one misses low and outside, full count. I think for Roark today, it's going to be important. You know, this ball's going to be flying. Right now you've got wind to factor in, you've got just the weather, the ball's going to be carrying better, and that warm heat gets humid in Toronto. So that was driven foul, full count.
This is just the 12th game on the season Herrera's getting into, and a bit of a utility knife. You can play all 4 positions around the infield as well as all 3 outfield spots.
That was a single in the center. And Wade is only going to be able to advance to third as he had to head to second to make sure that Bichette didn't catch that ball.
It looked like Bichette had a chance there, but that ball just eludes him a little bit over his head. And now stepping in is TJ LeMay, who's been red hot and had yesterday off, but now looking to keep things going after a really hot stretch against the Tigers and Indians.
Yeah, he's had a great last 10. 3-time Gold Glover, 3-time All-Star. And, you know, he finished 4th in MVP voting last season as he takes ball 1. And here's a guy who he's able to hit above 300. He also hit 26 home runs and drove in 102 runners. I mean, what a year for him last year. OPS hovering around 900 all year long.
And he's got a batting title, a legitimate chance every year for him.
As that one's grounded to Biggio, he makes the play. I mean, not grounded, that's actually lined to the second baseman. Take a look at the Yankees lineup. You'll notice Torres back in the number 4 spot. Andujar. Sanchez gets back in after a day off yesterday. Frazier and Tauchman in right and left respectively, but a bit further down in the lineup today.
And how about their 7, 8, 9, their trio of outfielders, all hitting over 300 today? That just speaks to how deep this Yankees lineup is. Of course, we saw Tauchman a little higher up in the lineup yesterday, and they've just got enough bats that they can afford to put a guy like him down in the 9-hole.
And Torres, what a season he's had so far, hitting above 300, right around that 1,000 OPS mark. He's just 23 years old, don't forget that. The 0-2 from Roark misses. Jansen keeps it in front of him, so the runners can't advance.
And Roark's coming off his best start of the year, undoubtedly. It was against Baltimore. He went 7 1/3 before he finally gave up his first run. Just the 1 run allowed on the day in that win.
So 2-2 now to the shortstop, Torres. 38 home runs last year, and 24 in his rookie year. Of course, traded to the Yankees in that famous Aroldis Chapman deal. And then the Yankees, later that year in the offseason, went out and signed Chapman to a 4-year deal. Funny how baseball can work sometimes with those trades. As that one's taken just outside. So Torres walks. The bases are loaded here with just 1 away for Miguel Andujar, who hit a home run yesterday.
And that pitch is one that Danny Jansen would love to have called for a strike. Him and Roark feeling a little squeeze there as that one is ruled a ball and Torres gets first base because they thought they had Torres frozen, and anytime you get a chance to retire a guy like that, you'll take it. But no, he heads to first base, and now it's an early chance with the bases loaded and less than 2 outs.
So Andujar comes up 8 for his last 20. And 1 for 4 yesterday. Another great opportunity here to kick off this party for the Yankees in exciting offensive fashion. Of course, that shot from Andujar yesterday was interesting. He sprayed it. He went opposite field, and it just got out of here. As Andujar quickly strikes out, has a little chuckle afterwards. So Roark has 2 now. 2 outs.
That was well in on his hands. And Roark expands the zone quite a bit, just trying to get a piece of that one. So Roark sets him up nicely and surprises him with the fastball that jumps on him quickly.
Base is still loaded for Sanchez, who, as I mentioned, we didn't see yesterday. A slow start for him on the year. Here's a guy who's kind of part of this reckoning a little bit for the Yankees. One of the many young pieces they brought up. Shades of Jorge Posada a little bit. Coming up at the same time. Kind of the way, with Judge, similar to the way Posada and Jeter did way back when. Of course, Sanchez just 27. Already a 2-time All-Star. A Silver Slugger as he strikes out. That's something he does lots of. So Roark puts his hands up, is able to get back-to-back Ks to get through the first despite the bases being loaded. We're scoreless here in Toronto. Welcome back. So it'll be the former Blue Jay on the mound for the Yankees today, J.A. Happ.
A 2-time Blue Jay, acquired first in the trade from the Astros and then acquired later through free agency. He's now with the Yankees and is second full season, dealt over in 2018 for a package that included Brandon Drury and Billy McKinney. And so he's had an interesting start to his season, not exactly where he's wanted it. A 4.61 ERA as a whole, but his worst start was actually against these Blue Jays back on April 5th. He allowed 6 earned in just 4 innings, and half of those runs came in the first off the bat of Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
That's right. Vladdy had a huge shot. Put the Blue Jays up 3-0 early in that one. They never really had to look back. On a cloudy day in New York. Today, a little sunnier, though. So the 0-2 to Bichette is swung on and right up the middle for a base hit as it gets past everyone. LeMahieu, Torres, and Happ. None of them are able to retrieve it, so Bichette gets a leadoff single.
Bichette's back in the leadoff spot. He's kind of bounced all around the lineup. And yesterday we saw him down in the 9th hole. He reached with a single up the middle in his only hit of the day, and he starts off here with another single right back up the middle.
So it's Lourdes Gurriel Jr. at the plate now. Gurriel just 1 for 12 in that previous series against the Yankees. Bit of a cold patch for him. We'll see if he can kind of shake that little Yankees jinx perhaps for him. As he swings and misses there, 1-2 now. And 2 for 3 yesterday with a walk, Gurriel did. Swung on and missed for the first strikeout of the day for J. Happ.
Gurriel goes down swinging here. And J. Happ is able to get Gurriel to just swing right through that fastball on the inner half. And a lot of Happ's success is going to come from spotting that fastball. He had a bit of a resurgence in his career as he was able to rediscover his fastball, and his use up and inside to challenge hitters, even though it's not the blazingest fastball, has helped a lot in his effectiveness.
So it's Grichuk. Yesterday, he reached 3 different times, but didn't have a single base hit. 2 walks and grounded into an error. Grichuk really shouldering a bigger load this year. He's regular everyday center fielder in the major leagues, which already is a big challenge. Oh, by the way, you're hitting number 3, and you're probably going to need to be one of the best hitters in this lineup, too.
And he hasn't really let up at all. He's looked solid in the field, a couple little blunders, but able to field center well, and his bat's really shown.
Fouls that one off. Seen a good amount of power from Grichuk as well this season. It's good to see that he's continuing to work on that. Hitting as a whole, he's been very effective at the plate. Fouls that one off.
And especially at home. He's hitting .296 and 54 at-bats here, and he's done quite well. That includes 5 doubles and 3 homers.
Guy who came over from St. Louis a couple years ago. Dominic Leone and Connor Green. Neither of who have really worked out for St. Louis. As that one is laced into center, Gardner makes the play. 2 away now.
And now you mentioned not too much given up for Grichuk. Leone, just a guy that had kind of really only had 1 solid year in the bigs before they sent him off to St. Louis. And St. Louis likely would have wanted more of a return, but they were in a roster crunch where they just couldn't afford to have another outfielder, and they had to move on from Grichuk, and the Jays leapt at the opportunity.
Some savvy trading, to say the least, there to acquire Grichuk. He signed a big deal last year to stay here for 5 years. So it's Guerrero Jr. at the plate now, 0-1. Takes ball 1 here. Change up in the dirt. DHing is Vlad today. Played third base yesterday. He's played a good amount of third base, so Charlie Montoya decided to give him the day off here in the second of 3 against the Yankees. You need his bat in the lineup when you're playing some of the biggest games of the season yet. I know these won't be the biggest games of the season come September, but right now this is all you can ask for. 2 top teams in the American League East, both playing pretty well at the moment, specifically the Yankees. Dome's open, weather's getting better. Oh, and by the way, a guy named Nate Pearson makes his Major League debut tomorrow, as you may have heard. That one's taken low for a walk, so runners at first and second now, 2 away for Travis Shaw, who's at third base today.
And Shaw getting another start at third base. Seen him at first primarily, and we've seen him at both third and second base a little bit more now that Tellez is on the team. Tellez can really only play first and DH, so Shaw's ability to play more than that has been nice for Montoya to get a little creative.
Leads the Blue Jays in home runs and RBI at 8 and 16 respectively. A great addition to this Blue Jays team, right in the middle of the order. A good lefty bat. As that one's sprayed into left, it gets down for a base hit. Bichette's going to come around third, and he will run in a score. 1-0 Blue Jays here in the first.
And they quickly jump on Happ, and that was the design of putting a guy like Bichette at the top of the order. He takes a little single, and the walk gets him to second, and he's got enough speed and enough base running skill to score from what's just a little single into left. The speed of Bichette brings him all the way around, and it didn't work out to start the year, but now that he's heated up a little bit at the plate, it's really looked good.
That one's driven into the gap. Sounds great off the bat. Gardner giving chase at the track. It's gone. Danny Jansen, a 3-run homer. His 7th of the season, 420 feet to left center. That's a 4-0 game.
And he gave up three runs in the first game they faced Happ. It was a home run off of Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s bat. Here it's an RBI single followed by a 3-run shot, and it's 4 runs in the first inning off of J.A. Happ. So the Jays have been able to jump on him early, and a beautiful swing by Danny Jansen. A fastball in the lower half of the zone, and they know that Happ is going to rely on his fastball quite a bit. He reinvented himself back in 2015, and since then he spent the better half of those years with these very Jays. They know him, the coaches know him, and Jansen expects a fastball, jumps on it there, and pulls it into the seats.
And you see the importance there of that 2-out walk from Guerrero Jr. If he's out there, trying to swing for the fences and him trying to be the hero, perhaps he gets out, that Shaw doesn't single and Jansen doesn't drive him all home. So important to get on base, especially with power behind you. And yeah, Jansen was hitting higher recently, hitting in the 2-hole. Today he's down to 6, seems to be paying off early.
And it gives him a chance to hit with more runners on base, which so far, clearly it's worked out.
1-2 to Tellez, swung on, Herrera fields at first. Flips to Happ, steps on the bag for the 3rd out, but tough hit first inning for Happ. Danny Jansen put some emphasis on it, a 3-run shot to left center, and no doubter. 4-0 Blue Jays in the first. Welcome back to Toronto. A very eventful last half inning. The Blue Jays put up 4 runs, so if we're tuning in late, or maybe the subway was a little delayed on your way to the bar or wherever it was. Danny Jansen hit a 3-run shot, just made a good play in the field there to retire Gardner, but Jansen hits a 3-run shot. And Shaw also got himself an RBI single right before that. So 4-0 game here. J-Happ shaky in the first, and we'll see if Tanner Roark, who was also a little shaky in the first, loaded the bases with just 1 out, was able to get out of it after back-to-back Ks. Some run support now, we'll see what he can do.
and you can't count on that happening too often against this talented lineup.
Frazier flies that one out into right. Alford back in right today, makes the play. So quickly 2 away here.
And a much better start for Roark. In the last inning, the first 2 reached. Here, the first 2 retired. But even when he loaded the bases, I mean, he was facing Andujar, who was the runner-up for Rookie of the Year in a close vote, then Gary Sanchez, who's hit with power through his whole career. No 2 easy guys. He manages to get out of the inning, but you don't want to flirt with danger too often against this lineup.
Certainly don't. Tauchman is able to reach, and you see why. This lineup's deep. The number 9 hitter is leading the Yankees in home runs, oddly enough. So, I mean, Tauchman reaches, left fielder, and more on him later. He's an excellent player and really a diamond in the rough for this Yankees team. As that one's laced in the left center field now. Tauchman will stay at second as Grichuk gets over there in a hurry, but Wade and Tauchman back-to-back 2-out singles.
On back-to-back pitches, they look almost identical. Pitches that were left well over the plate. You can see Roark grooves that fastball almost middle, and that goes right back up the middle, just like its predecessor. And now 2 runners on quickly with 2 away.
And you wonder if maybe Tauchman mentioned something to Wade when he was heading over to first. Hey, look for this. Because, yeah, that was pretty much an identical at-bat. So it's Rosel Herrera who singled in the first.
And even that slider, right down Broadway. Dangerous spot for any pitch, especially after 2 fastballs in the same spot.
1-1 inside. I think the issue last time in his start against the Yankees back on the second was just the amount of batters he allowed to reach, right? I mean, 5 hits, 3 walks. Yeah, you got 5 strikeouts, but through 4 innings, you're allowing 9 or 8 base runners. It's not sustainable. As Bichette stops that one at short, can't make the play, however, but no runners can try to head home. So bases loaded, 2 away.
And a great play by Bichette because, of course, doesn't get an out, but keeps Tauchman at third base. And Tauchman's not the fastest speedster, but, man, he can run well enough to score if that ball trickles out into center field, especially as Randall Grichuk's got just about a league average arm and isn't going to be a threat to prevent that runner from scoring.
So it's DJ LeMahieu. He hits that one down the line. Past the third baseman shot. That'll score a couple runs. And all of a sudden, it's a 4-2 game as the Yankees have just cut this lead in half.
And Herrera not able to go any further than second base, but the big picture here is that both Tauchman and Wade come in to score as that ball's grooved right down the line. DJ LeMahieu, a very talented hitter, and he shows that off right here.
As that one's drilled into left field, Gurriel ranges back, makes the play at the wall, has to turn. Looked like he got a little equilibrium was a little messed up there as he was about to throw it directly into the wall. Regardless, Torres now gets an RBI single, 4-3.
And look where that pitch is, right where Torres wants it, just below the belt on the inner part of the plate. That slider hangs up and Torres makes no mistake. Very similar spot to the previous pitch to LeMahieu, and by now, I mean, Chanson's got to be really emphasizing that you can't be throwing these pitches right over the heart of the zone on the inner half against these righties. And the slider, like that slider, Jansen was calling for it low. It comes up and catches well over the plate. And Roark quickly cutting into that 4-run lead he was given.
So after getting 2 quick outs, a pop-up and a fly-out by Gardner and Frazier, from Tauchman through Torres, each hitter has a single. That's 5 straight. You just can't be allowing that. If you're Roark with such a big lead, and it's already pretty much down the drain. Now 4-3 Jays. Saw yesterday, too, the Yankees do a very good job of getting on pitchers when they're struggling. As that one is thrown to second for the force out. So Andujar's retired, the Yankees are retired, but not before they put up 3 runs of their own. It's 4-3, an absolute slugfest under the sun here in Toronto. That's right, folks. Nate Pearson will be making his Major League debut tomorrow, 1:07 p.m. right here in the Virtual Jays Network. Be sure to tune in. We will have full coverage of that. Major League Baseball's number 8 prospect and the Blue Jays' number 1 prospect. He's made his way through the minor leagues very quickly. And what a fascinating prospect he is. He can deal with heat. He's got command. He works quickly. Checks all the boxes. All he's got to do is get some Major League experience now.
And he's the top right-handed pitching prospect in all of baseball. A guy the whole league will be tuning in to watch.
Certainly will, especially when he's playing the Yankees. I mean, it can't get much better for that for your debut. So Kevin Biggio gets a leadoff single to kick things off in the bottom of the second for us. Jay Happ, I mean, that is not a pretty line so far.
Well, it's really not. He's only gotten 3 outs and he's thrown 30 pitches already. Of course, that's going to happen when you give up 3 hits in the first inning and now 4 with the Biggio hit. And Biggio manages to get the single there to break what's been a little bit of a slump, and he's going to have to do a whole lot more than that to work his way out of the hole he's dug himself, hitting below 200 now on the year, but down in the 8 hole for the first time this year. We've seen him in the 1 spot, in the 2 spot, and now finally Montoyo moves him all the way down near the bottom for the first time.
Alfred's just thankful to get opportunities. He drills that one into left field. Tauchman ranging back. It's off the wall. And that'll be 2 as Alfred cruises into second. Biggio to third. Nobody out, and Alfred gets himself a double here. Second and third. And all of a sudden, this lineup turns over. Toronto has a chance to answer here.
Well, and the ball sure is carrying so far with the roof open. Man, it looks like a whole other ballpark. Is yesterday and the past couple games against Boston, it was relatively low scoring. Of course, yesterday there was some home runs, but not nearly the amount of hits we've seen already thus far. Especially going back in towards the Boston series, we've seen some lower scores here. Jumping out and not messing around at the plate as either team.
Bichette drives one in the left. Tauchman will get underneath this one. And Biggio will tag. And he comes in to score. So the Jays get themselves a run off of a sac fly by Bichette. It's a 5-3 game.
And out in left, Tauchman, and same with Gardner in center. Neither have overly powerful and dominant arms. Strongest arm in the outfield is Clint Frazier out in right, who has an above-average one. But the best arm in the outfield in this game belongs to the man at the plate right now, Lourdes Gurriel Jr.
Absolute cannon from left. I wonder, at any point, do you think they maybe try to move him to right field?
I think right now they're happy with what Teoscar Hernandez has done so far there after playing around with him last year.
Gurriel grounds out. It's certainly an area of discussion, I think, especially, as injuries mount up and, roster decisions change things. We saw Jose Bautista with his cannon for so many years out there, right? I think this Jays outfield is still certainly a work in progress. Speaking of which, Randall Grichuk, center fielder, lined out in the first. And starts off with ball 1.
Grichuk is 5 for 16 in his career against Happ. That includes 3 extra base hits in those 5 hits, 2 homers, and a double.
So not an ideal return to Toronto for Happ. Of course, he's pitched here since being traded, but I think anytime you come to a park that you've played in at different points in your career, as Happ has, 2 different occasions, and he clearly likes it here. He chose Toronto back before 2016 to sign a 3-year deal, and he's mentioned how he loves the people, he loves the grocery shopping, because he can buy bagged milk, something you just can't get in the States. As that one is in a foul territory, Herrera makes the play. Easy for me to say. Jays tack on a run. It's 5-3 as we head to the third, what is expected to be an 8-hour ball game. Sanchez comes back up here to start off the third inning. Hitting number 6 today. And a 308 on-base percentage to kick off his season. Of course, he had the day off yesterday, as we talked about. Struck out in the first. Takes inside for ball 1. So for Roark now, back-to-back innings when you've loaded the bases. And, you know, base runners, a clear struggle. He's already allowed, let's see, 5, 6, 7 hits already, plus a walk.
2 balls, no strikes.
I mean, if you're the Yankees, anything in the zone, whack it, because you're probably getting a base hit, especially with the way the ball's carrying today.
Well, and I mean, we look at his last start in Baltimore where he allowed 2 hits and 2 walks and 7 and 2/3. Here already he's allowed 8 base runners as opposed to the 4 in his last outing. And now he's behind 3-0 against one of the most dangerous hitters in the American League here, the Gary Sanchez.
Sanchez walks. So lead off of the third inning now, so they'll bring in Brett Gardner.
And Sanchez reaching base there. He's a guy that, of course, you mentioned he's struggling a little bit, but the big thing for the New York Yankees is he looks fully healthy. And he hasn't really had a full season since 2017. He's missed parts of each of the sequential years following that. But so far, I mean, in 2020, they've played 33 games, and Sanchez has caught 25 of them now here in his 26th tonight. He got the day off yesterday, but he's back this afternoon. And the health has been the big concern, but he looks good for 2020 and ready to go.
It's always a concern for young catchers, right? And as he's beginning to enter the prime of his career, it's going to be fascinating to see what the Yankees do with that. You know, how often they rest him, how often they start him. You know, is he a guy who you have for your bat, or for his bat, or more for kind of an all-around player as Gardner flies up to center? But yeah, Sanchez, a fascinating developmental prospect too, because we know his bat's there, we think. And I think for them, it's just a matter of getting that consistency and also building around him. And you know, how far can he go?
And the arm has been there, right, since he got called up. Again, goes with the power of his profile. And he's worked recently on blocking balls and pitch framing, and he's come a long way. But it's one of the reasons that you see the Yankees pair him on their roster with a defensive catcher. As Austin Romine previously, this year it's Higashioka.
As that one's grounded short, Bichette stops it, and the ball goes right through Biggio's legs. So the infielders can't make a play there. We ruled an infield base hit. Another ball blocked, but not fielded by Bichette.
And here the Jays are in double play depth with the runner on first and 1 away. So both middle infielders shaded up the middle, but still unable to cleanly get to that ball. And now another base hit allowed, and again another situation with 2 runners on for the big bat of Mike Tauchman.
Tauchman comes up. He homered yesterday, had a double yesterday, singled in the second, and started the big rally the Yankees had last inning. His single was the first of 5 consecutive base hits for the Yankees. As that one's taken inside, gets behind Jansen, but he doesn't let the runners advance. Not too much speed on the paths. The 2-1 is fouled off, so 2 strikes to Tauchman. As he swings on it and misses, so strike 3. And there to Tauchman, the 29-year-old.
And there he takes a bit off of it, and it's the changeup down below the zone. Interestingly, Tauchman actually a little late on that offering, so clearly looking off speed or looking for something else, but Roark throws the changeup and gets it by him for a strikeout.
Here's Tyler Wade, 1 for 3 yesterday, 2 for 2 on the day here, a double and a single. Got himself an RBI on a ground out yesterday as well. In a game in which the Yankees won, but I think one conclusion that we took away from it was that the Jays, they can hang with the big boys, especially offensively, right? We were talking about how the Yankees were kind of showing off their power, especially early. Gardner hits a big shot. Urshela hits a big shot. There's that one. Speaking of big shots, is in the gap. Alford goes to get it. 1 run will score. And another one will too. So a 2 RBI double for Tyler Wade, who is now 3 for 3 on the day. And it's a tie ball game here in the third.
And 3 hits for Wade, and we're only in the 3rd inning. And that ball hit nicely into the gap. A great read, of course, with 2 outs, running on contact. But a great read by Frazier to come all the way around to score from first. And now we're back tied up at 5-5.
So Herrera, who's also 2 for 2 in the day, a couple singles, steps in for ball 1. Yeah, not a great start, clearly, for either of these 2 pitchers. Going to be quite fascinating to see what both managers do with their bullpens. We saw both bullpens used heavily yesterday. Yamaguchi went 2 innings. Loaisaga, he went 2+. You know, all of a sudden, you look around and you think, well, which arms are fresh? Not too many. Thankfully, the Jays had a day off heading into yesterday.
And that'll be a big advantage now. We saw a lot of bullpen arms yesterday. Here to them, it's hard to imagine that we won't see the same, as pitch counts and earned run counts are tallying quickly against both starters.
2-2 to Herrera. Fouls it off. Yeah, I think for Roark today, one issue. He's a guy who could pitch to contact. Could use some good defense behind him. And, you know, some balls just getting through, right? You look at 5 straight singles. I mean, that's just... I think part of that is the Yankees are good at hitting. Part of that's poor pitching. But part of that's just, man, they got lucky, too. And Bichette, a couple balls to him. He's been able to stop but not field. As that one's popped up high into the sky here in Toronto. Biggio gets underneath it for the 3rd out. But the Yankees tie things up with a 2-run double from Tyler Wade, who is 3 for 3 on the day. We head to the bottom of the 3rd, and it's 5-5. So it'll be Vlad Guerrero Jr. up now for the Jays. And J. Happ stays in the game, just 39 pitches to be fair. With 5 runs allowed. Now 3 of them came on one swing of the bat from Danny Jansen in the first. A 3-run, absolute no doubter to left center. And the Jays also had an RBI from Travis Shaw earlier on in that inning. And then the second, Bo Bichette, leadoff hitter, gets a sac fly. So the Jays keep taking the lead, but they keep giving it up. We've seen already, 2 different lead changes. Is that correct? No, the Jays have been in front the whole time, but the Yankees keep on tying things up. As Vlad drills one into opposite field, over the wall and gone. The Jays retake the lead. Guerrero Jr.'s 6th shot of the year.
And he wastes no time untying this game. 6 home runs. That's only his 2nd home run at home. Hit one way back against Boston way earlier in the season. He gets one here against the New York Yankees. And, man, that one was hit quite hard. It didn't have the height necessarily of a towering home run, but this one got out in a hurry.
Sure did. Frazier kept trailing back and back. Thought he might get a chance because, as you mentioned, it wasn't hit particularly high. But that ball just kept on going and going.
And he gets Happ again. 2 of his 6 home runs have come against Happ. 1 in Yankee Stadium for 3 runs, and that 1 here in Toronto for 1.
So Shaw now take strike one, and what an atmosphere you have at Rogers Center today. I mean, all the energy that we've been talking about this series thus far, but stadium, I mean, attendance is there. You've got people happy. It's warm out. It's an afternoon game. There's excitement in the air, right? With both these teams kind of at the top of the division. It's a big series early on. The Yankees always bring a buzz, but with Nate Pearson starting tomorrow and quite a hitting frenzy today, it's certainly get your money's worth, to say the least.
And that's right. And with Tampa Bay slacking down a little bit in the American League East, and maybe Toronto pitching and hitting above expectations, especially their bullpen, you wonder how long necessarily Toronto will be neck and neck up at the top of the American League East, and you got to enjoy it while you can, and these fans sure are here today so far.
So Shaw strikes out, swinging. And I think Tampa's been a bit of a letdown, as we talked about at the start of the year, but I will say I think it's left the door open for a team like the Blue Jays to go and get it, right? And to be the Yankees competition, because we know the Orioles aren't doing it. The Red Sox, they've got their own problems. I mean, they certainly hate Blue Jays. And the Rays have underwhelmed. So you look around and you think, well, you know the Yankees are going to be good, even though they're injured. They're 21-12. But the Jays, 19-13, and bullpen's been excellent. Let's say they lose 5 straight. Why? Why would the Jays lose 5 straight? What's going to go wrong if something will?
I think the easiest thing to look at is you haven't seen a bullpen implosion yet. You've seen Jordan Romano blowing 1 save where he allowed 1 run and blew what was a very close game. You haven't seen someone come in and give up a 5 spot. You haven't seen the Jays bullpen needing to go 6 innings, 3 innings, no matter how long it is, and just absolutely have a tough day. So I feel like if you string together a couple of those, because you've had short starts. You've had Anderson only go 3 innings a couple times. You saw yesterday Shoemaker, very short day from him, but the bullpen's picked them up time and time again. If that falls off, the Jays could be in a little bit of trouble.
Especially the back end. You know, with the way Bass and Giles have pitched, and even a guy like Miller, who the Jays kind of took a flyer on, but he's really paid off for them in that pen. So both Shaw and Jansen strike out. So a bit of a quieter inning, really the quietest one so far, albeit you got to get 3 outs first. So we'll see what Tellez has in store here. Grounded out in the first. I'd imagine, too, another reason this team could go cold is they've been getting a lot of balls, a lot of home runs, right? They've been getting kind of these timely hitting, I'm going to call it. Not necessarily a lot of home runs, but home runs, at good points. I mean, Danny Jansen had a couple home runs against Baltimore. Reese McGuire with a big shot against the Red Sox. Even yesterday, we saw a guy like Joe Panic hit one to tie things up. Jansen hits a 3-run shot today. Timely hitting. There's only so far that can go. 2-2 to Tellez. Swung on into right field. Frazier comes in, makes the play. So, after the home run to Guerrero Jr., Happ retires the next 3 batters. But, of course, the Jays retake the lead once again. It's 6-5 as we head to the 4th. Welcome back to Toronto. Beautiful day here in Ontario, and it's one of those days that give Ontarians lots of hope, I guess you could say, in terms of the weather, and maybe even their ball club as well. Jays are up 6-5 here, and if you missed yesterday's action, the Yankees took it, but it was close, 5-4. And start of the year, I told you that the Yankees and the Blue Jays would be at the top of the AL East, and they'd have a pretty big series in late April, or early May, I should say. Keep calling it late April. You'd probably call me crazy. But here we are. It's 6-5 Blue Jays. And roof's open. It's a beautiful day, beautiful atmosphere. And listen, the Jays have a chance still to really make some, cause some damage in this series to the Yankees AL East lead as LeMahieu reaches for the second time today.
And they came into the series trailing Yankees by half a game. And after dropping the first game last night, they've got the lead here today. If they were able to pull out the next 2 games, they would host Baltimore next week with the lead in the American League East. Now, expecting maybe this game is still far from over from what we've seen at the plate from both teams. And tomorrow you've got a rookie debuting on the mound, so far from a couple of safe bets. But like you said, just to be even in the race ahead of Tampa, ahead of Boston, Jays fans should have very little to complain about.
They've taken advantage of their opportunities, taken advantage of timely hitting and a great bullpen. As that one's in the right field, Hernandez makes a good play at the track to track that one down. So Torres is retired. First time he's retired today. We'll bring up Andujar.
And you know what? For the Jays fans, they talked about what could go wrong. Well, here's something that you can have hope about in this race with the Yankees. The Yankees have faced Baltimore and Detroit 7 times each already, as there's a single there through the right side for Andujar. But so New York, 7-0 against Baltimore, 6-1 against Detroit. So that's 13-1 against a couple bottom-feeding teams, and below 500 at 8-11 versus everyone else. So this Yankees team, of course, very talented and a very stacked roster in both their pitching and hitting, but they haven't been absolutely as dominant as you might expect so far in 2020.
Well, and there's always 2 ways to look at that, right? You can look at it and say, well, of course, I would hope they won those games, right? They're playing against freaking Baltimore and Detroit, as that one is flown to foul territory. Tellez goes over and makes the play, so 2 on, 2 out for Roark. But they better win those games. Is what I'm trying to say. Like you have to play those games. Do you know what I mean? Like if the Yankees went 3-4 against Baltimore or wherever it was, then that'd be even more good for the Jays, and it'd be even more concerning if you're a Yankees fan. So you could say the Yankees aren't tested yet. You could also say, what else are they supposed to do? As Gardner drills one into right field, and he'll tell you what he's supposed to do. He'll mash and mash and mash. His second home run this series, it's a 3-run shot, and guess what? We have a lead change. And another 3 runs.
And get used to that now. We're in the top of the 4th. We've now seen scoring in all 4 innings. The Yankees kept off the board in the top of the 1st. The Jays strike first in the bottom of the 1st. And then since then, the Yankees have scored 3 in the 2nd, 2 in the 3rd, and now 3 more already here in the 4th. And that'll do it for Tanner Roark.
So a very awful start for Roark today, really just up and down. Loads the bases in the 1st and the 2nd. Allows a 3-run shot to Gardner. Base runners left, right, and center. Just not anything that Roark had pictured coming into the start, especially trying to build off of what was a good one against Baltimore. So it'll be Wilmer Font stepping in, and he'll need to throw a couple innings here. There's only 1 out in 4th.
And so now it has been a full time through the rotation since the Jays last got a quality start. It was Tanner Roark against Baltimore that last pitched the Jays' quality start. Each of the past 5 days, the starter pulled before completing the 6th inning. Here is Roark pulled before completing the 4th inning. And this Jays bullpen that's been taxed quite a bit continues to be tested, as now they'll be responsible for multiple innings of relief.
1 ball, 1 strike.
Font's first task is to escape this inning. They'll go up against Clint Frazier, who's 1 for 2 in the day, single in the 3rd. Already his 3rd at-bat of the day here, and we're only in the 4th.
Font still perfect at a 0.0 ERA through 13 innings, all in relief. With how the ball's been flying, can't imagine that lasts too long.
As that one strolled into deep left field. Gurriel makes the play to retire the third out of the fourth, but Brett Gardner takes Roark to a ride to right. 8-6 Yankees here on the virtual Jays Network. Hello, everyone, and welcome back on the Virtual Jays Network. My name is Jackson Farough. I'm joined by Drew Frank, and we appreciate you joining us today. As we continue on, it's already been quite the game, quite the slugfest. Soon going to need another pen to fill out all the info on my score sheet here. 8-6 game. Happ still in this one after allowing 6. But to be honest, the third inning wasn't too bad for him. He only allowed 1 home run. And it was a solo shot from Guerrero Jr. to lead it off. Retired the next 3 batters, so at least against the lefty, Aaron Boone's going to leave him in. He starts off with a 1-1 count to Biggio.
Biggio down, as we mentioned earlier, in the 8th hole today. Bumped from the top of the order as it's Bichette and Gurriel to get the 1-2 spot. We've seen Biggio up there. We've seen Panic up there today. Panic on the bench and Biggio down in the 8th spot.
Ball 3.
I think Panic's really emerged this year as a really good backup second baseman for a variety of reasons. As Biggio takes inside for ball 4, so he'll walk to kick things off in the 4th.
The right fielder, number 30.
I'll bring up Anthony Alford. So Boone's going to leave Happ in for now with a runner on first and a righty at the plate. But as I was saying about Panic, lefty bat, also really good defense, experienced. He's played in some big games in San Francisco. He's won a World Series, Gold Glover, All-Star, the whole deal. I think he's pretty much, and he's also on a minor league deal, so he's cheap. I think he's pretty much the ideal backup candidate in the infield.
And a big home run yesterday. First of the season, always helps off the bench. But yeah, I mean, from what you expect from him, he's done a great job. Top of the order, bottom of the order. Experienced around the infields. You can't really ask for much more, especially for someone you signed on a minor league deal.
So another good find by this Blue Jays front office. I know some fans won't want to hear that, as kind of the fan base is still divided on how do you feel about this front office? Are they doing enough? What's their strategy? Are they drafting properly? This, that, and the other. I think it's pretty clear with Nate Pearson coming up tomorrow. They're drafting properly. That's not the problem, folks. 3-1 to Alford now. And I think that the concern has been maybe with the lack of spending with the Jays. But then again, I mean, you're not the Yankees. You know that going in. Of course the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers can spend all this money because they always have big payrolls. The Jays have never had massive payrolls. As Alfred swings and misses, full count now. I still struggle with this idea that, the Jays should be a top 10 spending team in Major League Baseball. Well, why? They never have been.
And Hyun-Jin Ryu's signing over the offseason goes a long way to helping with that narrative. One of the best pitchers on the market. Probably the best pitcher that was available outside of Garrett Cole of the starters that hit free agency was Hyun-Jin Ryu. And they managed to bring him to Toronto on a nice deal for 4 years. So that's something that the haters can take and really take as a step in the right direction, I guess, if that's been seen as a problem for this front office. And I'm sure you can believe that when the time is right to contend, the payroll will reflect it.
Absolutely. And you've still got a young team. You don't need to pay Bichette, Biggio, Guerrero Jr. yet. They've paid Grichuk, to be fair. They paid Gurriel. So you look at it, and I think it's a lot of smoke and mirrors, but regardless, be interested to see how this front office deals with this season, right? Because they've just made a trade. Chase Anderson leaves to fill some more, or to give some more room for a young guy like Pearson to come up, and I'm sure we'll see more of that as the season goes on. But come July, if this team's still, let's say, 6-7 games above 500, what do they do? How do they go about, their plans? I'd imagine they probably stand pat, but it certainly could be fascinating. As Bichette drills that one down the line, just foul. So 1-2 count to the shortstop.
We're a long way away, just the beginning of May, but almost reminiscent of a Braves team from a few years ago where they didn't think they'd be ready to contend, and then their players developed earlier and then had a real chance without making too many moves.
How about that? So Bichette strikes out looking. As we see that one, and you can decide for yourself at home, folks, whether that was a strike or a ball. Regardless, the ump thinks it's a strike, so 2 away for Gurriel Jr., who's 0 for 2. First pitch inside for ball 1, and I think if you ask me in the second inning, Drew, especially after that sac fly from Bichette, how long do you think Happ's going to last? I'd say I don't think he lasts beyond the third. But here we are. He's got 2 outs in the fourth. Kind of making do. He's starting to settle in a little bit. A lot of leadoff home run in the third to Gurriel Jr., as I mentioned. But retired the next 3 batters. A lot of leadoff walk to Biggio, but next 2 retired.
And he's got the lead here, despite giving up 6 runs in his first 3 2/3, and that's a big factor in the fact he's in the game. I mean, he's still in line for the win here this afternoon.
Oh, the joys of pitching for the Yankees, I suppose. And neither starter having a really good day today, as we've mentioned. 2-2 to Gurriel Jr. now as that one's taken high.
And with Gurriel Jr., a trend we've seen early is he's hit a lot better at Rogers Center than on the road. At home, he's hitting .288 with 4 extra base hits. On the road, just .157 with only 1 extra base hit.
Gets Gurriel looking on strike 3. So back-to-back Ks. Helps Happ escape the leadoff walk. He's through 4, 6 allowed, but he's still winning here in Toronto. Welcome back, everyone. It'll be Mike Talkman. And we thank you for joining us today on the Virtual Jays Network. As we kick things off in the 5th here, we'll see some more action in the Blue Jays bullpen. Gavilio Romano. And Talkman, last time up, struck out, but he's 1 for 2 in the day. Started the onslaught in the second. 5 straight singles that ended up driving in 3 runs for the Yankees. As he laces that one to the left, Gurriel over there to make the play. 1 away.
And Tanner Roark, not much to say to go along with those numbers there. Allowed 14 base runners in just 3 2/3. And that's about all there is to it. Pulled before he could finish the 4th inning, surrendering 8 runs to this Yankees offense. And it's a strong offense, but still, I mean, there's not really many excuses for justifying 8 runs allowed. All of them earned. A lot of pitches left out over the plate. And if he's pitching the contact, needs to pick the edge a little better.
So a bunt attempt, and he's safe. Look at that. Tyler Wade is 4 for 4 on the day.
And catches the Jays by surprise a little bit there, as Jansen tries to run out and quickly field that. He's unable to, and the speed of Wade is the first batter to reach against Font, as now there's 1 on and 1 out for Herrera.
And if you're Aaron Boone here, I mean, the kind of decisions you have to make now with all these injuries, right? In the outfield, first of all. When these guys return, I mean, it makes sense to have Tauchman on the bench, but you can't bench him too much the way he's played. And how about a guy like Tyler Wade? 4 for 4 today, and who do you play at third base tomorrow, Wade or Urshela? Or both look good. Double play attempted here by the Jays, but they can't finish it off. They get the lead runner, however. So Andujar reaches on what is ruled a fielder's choice.
And a very, very brave play to throw the second there by Tellez. I mean, they just barely get the lead runner, and in a game where you're down by 2 already with the middle of the order coming up, not a risk you take very often when you've got the second out right in front of you. They do manage to get that second out at second, and it pays off as they get the lead runner, but very risky, and probably not a play that the coach would endorse too often instead of taking the easy out at first.
What about that? As that one's sprayed into right. So, DJ LeMahieu gets his third hit of the day. Good use of the whole field there.
Font wasn't used in the Bronx, and nor was he used last night, so this is his first chance seeing the Yankees this season. And so far, a little bit of trouble now, as he's gotten 2 outs, or 3 outs, tracking back to the one he picked up last inning, but 2 back-to-back batters reach.
As that one's driven into the gap, Grichuk gets behind it and fields it, but a run comes in to score. That is Tyler Wade. Reached on a bunt. You see the importance of catching the defense flat-footed a little bit. Wade bunts and gets all the way around to score off that Torres single to center. So, 2 RBI on the day for Torres. He's 2 for 3 with a walk. We'll see what Andujar has up his sleeve here. He's 1 for 3 on the day. As we see Font allow his first run. And the Yankees just keep piling on. They do such a great job of reaching and moving guys over, especially in this contest. As that one's taken for strike 2. So 2-2. As Font looks to escape here with runners in the corners. That one, inside pitch. Andujar chokes up and fouls it off. The 2-2. This time it's grounded. Past the third baseman, shot through the hole. Another run will score. 10-6 Yankees.
And that's a ground ball that Font wishes was about a foot to the left or a foot to the right of where it was. Just splits both the shortstop and the third baseman as both Shaw and Bichette go for it but don't have a play, and that trickles into left field, and another hit keeps things going for New York.
And we could have ourselves quite a doozy today. There's still lots of time left. The ball's flying. The bats are connecting at the moment, and you do not want to be a pitcher in this game. 3 straight singles for these Yankees. LeMahieu, Torres, and Andujar. The latter 2 picking up RBI. To be Sanchez popped out to first last time. Walked in the third. (3-0) to the catcher now. First and second, 2 away. Is that one in there for a strike?
We saw Sanchez earlier in the game work a full count, or work a 3-0 count, against Roark, and looking for something to hit to join the hit parade. Took a 4-pitch walk. Here he's poised again in a big hitter's count.
Strike 2 as we see these shadows start to move around here at Rogers Center. The pitcher's still in the sun, but the batter's in the shadows. Very interesting. Be interesting to see how that affects sight lines for these hitters. So that one's fouled down the line.
And that'll happen anytime you've got those 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock local time starts as we've got today. Shadows really become a factor.
As that one is laced into center field, another base hit for the Yankees, and another run scored. The Yankees tack on another 4 straight singles and 3 straight RBI singles as well.
And Sanchez, the final Yankee to single. Now all 9 batters in this lineup have reached base with a base hit, and that'll do it for Wilmer Font.
So it'll be Shun Yamaguchi, we saw yesterday. This will be his 17th appearance. And like we talked about yesterday, some good and some bad. But the Jays could really use some of that good from Yamaguchi.
Well, and they could sure use a length. Wilmer Font, the guy that usually they can count on for multiple innings, he's only able to face 7 batters today before he has to be lifted. See if they can get any better from Yamaguchi.
So, Gardner flies out to left. Ends the offensive onslaught for the Yankees. They keep pouring it on. It's 11-6 New York here in Toronto. Love one, and welcome back to Toronto. Bottom of the 5th inning here. And it'll be Jay Happ getting back to work, believe it or not. So, after a pretty shaky first 2 innings, as well as the 3rd inning, which started with a solo shot from Guerrero Jr., we see him being able to work through that and allowing just 1 base runner since then. And now with Cessa and Holder warming, he's going to have a chance here to keep going.
I like this a lot from Aaron Boone. You're up by 5 runs. You've got one of your experienced pitchers on the mound that can give you some length. There's really no need to pull him right now. Sure, he's been hit, but you've got 11 runs on the board already. And I guess it's not looking the sharpest, but no need to push your bullpen luck and burn too many arms when you only got, you didn't get too long of a start yesterday from your starting pitcher, as Montgomery only went 4 innings. And if Happ can give you a few more innings, and even if he gives up another notch or 2 in the run column, I mean, you've got enough of a lead that you can afford to save those pen arms a little bit here.
So Grichuk in a full count now, takes on the top part of the zone and strikes out.
And to add to why you roll with Happ here, he's now struck out 3 straight batters. So even though he allowed 4 in the first and a couple more in the second and thirds, he's locked in lately. And with the lead, with the cushion, maybe a bit more comfort, a bit more confidence to not worry about the score. And I mean, it's helped him out immensely so far.
And pitch count's still in the 80s, so why not? Exactly like you said. Get some more length if you can. 0-2 to Guerrero Jr. is poked foul. As Happ deals, that one is popped up into center field. Gardner quickly comes over, makes the play. So 2 out for Travis Shaw, who is 1 for 2 in the day with a single and an RBI.
And Happ now has gone through this entire Jays order once without allowing a base hit. The last base hit was Guerrero Jr.'s solo home run back in the thirds. Now there was a walk to Biggio in there, but no hits through the last 9 batters faced. A definite sign that he's turned things around.
It's interesting. Usually 3rd time through the lineup, the hitters get better. And they've seen the pitcher a couple times and nobody's throwing. Today it's a bit more the opposite.
Count 0-2.
Quickly 0-2 to Shaw here. Shaw strikes out on 3 pitches, swinging. So Happ now through 5 innings, still below 100 pitches. We could see him for another. As we head to the 6th on the virtual Jays Network.
Leading off for the Yankees, the right fielder.
It'll be Clint Frazier at the plate now for the Yankees here as we move along now in the 6th inning. Danny Jansen behind the plate to catch Yamaguchi here. And as he comes back in now trying to get through an inning if he can. We haven't seen many pitchers do that for the Jays. Of course, Roark did early, but it wasn't very effective. And Roark allowed 8 runs today on 12 hits and just 3 2/3. Only 3 strikeouts. Way too many base runners against a team that'll punish you for it.
Yamaguchi came into the game today, actually, believe it or not, with more innings pitched than Roark. Now Roark pulled ahead with his 3 2/3 worked so far today, but Shun Yamaguchi sporting an ERA below 3 now to Roark's, which is elevated well over 5.
As Frazier pops out, it'll be Mike Tauchman now, heading over 300 on the year. This is part of what I was saying with these decisions that Aaron Boone's going to have here. Once this team starts to get healthy, what do you do with a guy who's hitting over 300, plays good defensively, and also comes on the cheap?
And it's tough, right? Because they've got all sorts of options, and they're only going to get more. I honestly don't even really know. And Zach Granite's a guy that's on the bench. He'll get sent down to the minors. But it's not just about keeping them on your roster. It's about finding them at bats. As he legs out, nice play there. We saw him use his speed to score from second earlier in the game. Here he just gets another base hit as these Yankees keep reaching base as he gets one up the middle. But yeah, honestly, I don't know. It's a tough question. And they developed all this depth last year as they had so many injuries. So far, so good. We'll see if that keeps up.
As that one's grounded over to first base side, Tellez blocks it, tries to throw to Yamaguchi, but it's not in time. So, couple infield base hits here. I think these ones hurt for Yamaguchi. 2 plays that you'd like to have, but close ones.
And 2 where you can't necessarily fault anyone on defense. They're both base hits, but still very frustrating when you induce a ground ball like that. You induce 2 ground balls like that, and now there's 2 runners on, and neither of them are retired.
Should mention that makes Tyler Wade 5 for 5 on the day with 2 RBI. A career day for the third baseman today for the Yankees. 2-0-1 out for Rosel Herrera, who himself is 2 for 4, a couple singles. Yamaguchi could use some defensive brilliance, perhaps a double play, something here to wipe out the base pass a little bit. Now 3-0 to Herrera with the heart of the order due up. Taken up the middle. Strike called there on Herrera. So we've seen Yamaguchi and Font, actually, in some high-leverage situations. Today we see them more in lower-leverage situation, mainly out of necessity. But now Font's out. Yamaguchi continues to struggle as that one's fair down the line. It'll be Tauchman coming in to score. Wade advances to third. So a 1-out RBI single for Rosel Herrera.
And that was a ball on the middle part, I guess you'd say middle-low section of the plate. And Herrera jumps on it, pulls it down the line, That looked like it was the cutter from Yamaguchi, which he doesn't mix in all that often. There he leaves one again over the heart of the plate, and he makes him pay.
As that was grounded off the mound, way into foul territory, another run will score.
And it just doesn't stop for these Yankees. Feels like there's nothing the Jays can do to keep them off the base paths. That one either hit off the mound or Yamaguchi's foot, and the way he's reacting, it might have been off of his foot. He's going to stay in the game, but it's just break after break. Seems like it's going the Yankees' way here.
Everything going wrong at the moment for the Jays, but Yamaguchi will stay in. That's the good news. Torres 2 for 3, 2 RBI on the day, as it feels like every Yankee is, really. Quite the hitting fest. 2-0 now. So, I mean, this Yankees team, we talked about it, how they've kind of been feasting on lower-end opponents, but they come in here against the Jays team who, you know, is also a lower-end opponent, but they've been strong so far. They are feasting today, specifically.
And 13 runs is a statement no matter where or when or against who. And here, of course, against the Jays' number 3 guy in Tanner Roark, who was brought in as a stabilizing force and was expecting to be a pretty volatile rotation. And here, just a tough look from him.
Kind of the opposite of stabilizing today. The inconsistency has troubled Roark this season, and now as we move along, I mean, his future in Toronto could also be a question mark. As that one is flown out into center, Grichuk will come in and make the catch. So 2 out now as Torres is retired.
And now that's the second out. Yamaguchi retires. He got one to start the inning as Fraser fouled out to the first base side. But then it was 4 straight hits. The final one being LeMahieu's single, the 21st hit on the day for the Yankees. And now one out away from escaping this inning. That's already damaged for 2 more runs.
Ball, that's out.
So Andujar steps in, takes ball 1. He's 2 for 4 with an RBI. As he drives that one into center field, that'll get down for a base hit. Looks like Herrera's going to try to come around and score, and he will. Not even an attempt to throw home as it's cut off. So base hit, another RBI from Miguel Andujar. It's a 14-6 game as we'll see Sam Gaviglio try to stop the bleeding.
You mentioned how Wilmer Font in the past had been able to occasionally give multiple innings. Yamaguchi's almost always asked for multiple 2 or 3, sometimes 3+. We saw him go 3 2/3 not that long ago. Here he's only able to go and get 3 batters out spread across 2 innings, and now it'll be Gaviglio's turn to see how long he can last in this game.
0-1.
So Gary Sanchez steps in. 1 for 3 with a walk. He RBI'd and joined the hitting party in the 5th.
Outside, that's a ball.
So 1-1 now. And look at that. Every single Yankee has a base hit today.
And a run scored.
Count is 2-1.
Oof, just one of those days for the Blue Jays. And on the flip side of things, one of those days for the Yankees. Everything's been going right. You even get your starter to stay in for an extra couple innings. You know, now's an opportunity to get some of your more lower leverage bullpen guys some chances here. And for the Jays, you're just trying to crawl to the finish, I think.
You haven't seen too many fans leaving their seats yet, but it doesn't seem like there's much light at the end of the tunnel this far.
Well, the GO train goes every half an hour. I'm sure these fans will be checking their schedules. Full count to Sanchez. We're still here on the Virtual Jays Network, and if you care for some Blue Jays baseball, then stick around. Who knows? You may miss the best comeback ever. Full count 2 out. That one's foul. See Sanchez staying alive here. So that one's popped into right. Hernandez takes a couple steps in. Pardon me, Alford takes a couple steps in, makes the play. And so Sanchez is retired, but not before the Yankees tack on a bunch more runs. They have 22 hits on the day. It's 14-6 Yankees on the virtual Jays Network. So that'll be Jonathan Loaizaga, we saw yesterday. Kind of a long relief man for the Yankees this year, and a very effective one.
Yesterday, he came in to pitch the 5th, the 6th, and into the 7th. Looked really strong, just gave up 1 run on 2 hits, didn't walk a single batter, and he struck out 4. Very strong day from him. He was lifted right at the end of the 7th as he was able to get 2 outs, but then it was a single from Bichette that chased him from the game.
Leadoff single for Danny Jansen here. He's 2 for 3 on the day. Gonna need a lot more where that came from if they want to get back in this game, I'll tell you that. Down 8 runs now in the 6th. And Loaizaga. Great yesterday, as you mentioned. And have a chance to get against the bottom part of this lineup to work quickly if he wants to. Although I'm sure they'll have something to say about that. Tough going now, but I think of Charlie Montoyo here. You know, when you got a young team like this, you keep your eye on these hitters and these pitchers, and you say, okay, who's throwing in the towel and who's sticking around and grinding out at bats, right? Because that matters in a manager's books. And, you know, who's checking out already on a Saturday afternoon, knowing what's ahead tomorrow and whatnot. But you don't want all your young hitters to tune out if you're Montoyo here.
And it's a potential teaching point to both the hitters and the pitchers that, you know, anytime you get a chance at the plate or on the mound, you know, you've got to value it just about as equally as you can. Of course, your mindset, it's going to be a little different in this type of leverage as opposed to a close 1-run game potentially. But, hey, I mean, it's still Major League and it's still an interdivision rival. And you've got to give your best at-bat and your best pitch every time out.
Tellez strikes out, swinging. Good pitch by Loaizaga there, commanding and painting corner.
The batter, number 8, second baseman, Camden Yards.
Tellez now 0 for 3. Tough day for him. He's one of 3 Blue Jays who hasn't reached base yet. It's been Tellez in the 7-hole, but then also Gurriel Grichuk, the 2-3, which is a little more troubling.
Tellez the day off yesterday. Biggio's 1 for 1 and walked in the 4th. So the Yankees decide to, well, ruin kind of the party that the Jays were set to have with the Dome being open for the first time this year, to celebrate that a little bit. What a showcase it could have been in front of all these fans. But the Yankees, I mean, they've really spoiled that. 14 runs, 22 hits. They've looked incredible at the plate. They keep just hitting and hitting and hitting. It doesn't stop. Well, let's get a 2nd for 1 to first. Biggio beats it out. So the Jays will stay alive in this inning.
And a really nice play there to field it, spin, throw the 2nd, get the lead runner. Impressive to not only field that in time, but to quickly locate what was happening and know, ball it to me, try and get the lead runner, the spin, the throw, exactly executed as you'd like it. Not easy, and a lot of the pitchers, not the greatest fielders. Nice display there.
Oh, and what a play from Tyler Wade. He's having himself quite the afternoon, folks. 5 for 5. Couple RBI, and he's making plays like this on the field. Alfred sat down. We head to the 7th in Toronto. Hey, Brett Gardner coming up. They had a 3-run shot in the 4th. We welcome you back to the Virtual Jays Network if you're still with us. And it's 14-6. The Yankees have opened this one right up, really, since the first pitch was thrown. As that one's grounded first, Tellez makes the play. 22 hits for the Yankees today. Dare I say more?
Well, it's 14-6 now. And the Jays were kind of due for a game like this. You have 1 or 2 games a year that things really get out of hand. They're still only down, realistically, by 8 runs. And, well, of course, that is a big deficit with how we've seen the ball flying today. And this fact they still have 9 outs left to play with. You can't rule out anything. But the Jays yet to really get hit hard at all. They've only given up 5 runs in 3. They've only given up more than 5 runs 3 times this year, twice against the Twins and once against the Rays, losing all 3 of those games. But the most runs they've given up was that 8-3 loss to the Twins here in uncharted territory a little bit for the 2020 team. But if you look back to 2019, biggest loss 19-4 against the Padres. Not quite in that territory yet, but as I said, there's still lots of time left today.
As Frazier grounds out, so 2 away now. And Tauchman, what a day for him, 2 for 4. A series so far. He's got 4 hits, home run, a double, a couple singles. A real force out there in left this season. And he's really stepped up in the absence of guys like Judge, Stanton, Hicks. Even last year when he came over from Colorado. He didn't play too much, but got in enough action where it was, the Yankees said, okay, this is someone who, if we have injuries in the outfield, we can at least rely upon in short spurts. But, I mean, any opportunity he's been given, he's really, thrived on it. As the season goes on, that'll certainly be a storyline in New York to watch. 2-2 to Tauchman. And for Sam Gaviglio now, we haven't talked too much about him, but he's made some starts. I think you're comfortable with him in kind of this long relief role now, as you got 2 out in the 7th. Jays still have a couple arms that they can go to here in the 8th and 9th. But if Gaviglio had run into some more trouble in the 6th, I mean, we could have been having a much different conversation. That one's a deep fly ball on the left. Gurriel makes the play. So 3 up, 3 down. When have we said that this game? Hasn't been very much. We stretch. New York leads in Toronto. Welcome back to Rogers Center. The first day with the Dome open, and it's been absolutely spoiled by these evil Empire New York Yankees. 14 runs on 22 hits. That's right, you didn't mishear me, folks. Yankees lead by 8, and as we move ahead now to the bottom part of the 7th, I think it's a real gut check for the Jays. And I mentioned a little bit earlier, it's a chance for Montoya to see, okay, who checks out and who's still buying in and grinding out here. As Bichette grounds one just foul.
And the Yankees against the Jays in their franchise history. They've put up 14 runs against the Jays in 7 different occasions. Of course, believe it or not, winning all 7 of those games. The most recent one was back in 2006, where the Yankees beat them 17-6. But yeah, the Jays not looking good so far today. And again, still some chance to make some noise, but not the way they saw this game going after last night's very, very close game.
That one is lined right to the shortstop Torres. So Bichette is retired.
Now batting.
For those of you that missed last night's game, final score was 4-3. Jays entered the 9th inning trailing 4-2 with elite closer Aroldis Chapman on the mound. Not only did they strike for a run against them, they had the tying run at second and the winning run at first before Chapman was lifted for Tommy Canley, who ended up saving the game by getting Jansen to pop out to the first baseman, but still very close to tying that game up and a very exciting finish. Quite a different ball game than we've got so far this afternoon.
As that one's flown into right, Frazier comes in and makes the play. Now 2 out here. Nobody on for Loaizaga, who looks great once again today.
The center fielder.
He sure does. I mean, he's just given up the single to Jansen, which was hit right back up the middle. The only other base runner he allowed to reach was Kevin Biggio, reaching on the fielder's choice when Biggio hit that ball right back to Loaizaga, and he went to second to get Jansen. So really just the one base runner, if you will, and settle down what's been an offense that got off to a really hot start for the Jays. I mean, you can't discredit the 6 runs that they were able to get themselves.
And to be fair, they kept taking the lead. It was the Yankees who kept trailing, but the Yankees just kept going and going and going. And, after that leadoff shot from Guerrero Jr. in the 3rd, the Jays haven't had much. Happ and Loaizaga have really shut the door.
And no sponsored content on this stream, but it's almost like the Energizer Bunny commercials where you see one's pounding and pounding and pounding and the other one just fades away and gives up and the other one's going strong. That's kind of what we've seen in this offense where both teams started at the same pace and Jays have just fallen off. But maybe a double from Grichuk here will help spark some late life.
So a ground rule double there by Grichuk. Nobody was there to get it anyways. So a fan gets it. Why not? Vlad Guerrero Jr. now with a runner in scoring position. He is 1 for 2 with a walk, as we mentioned, homered in the 3rd. And Loaizaga here with a great opportunity to get through another 2 innings. Of course, his season started off with quite the bang, and not in the good way, Loaizaga's. His first pitch was to Vlad Guerrero Jr. back in New York in that first series, and Jr. took him yard on that very first pitch. So his first pitch of the season was in the seats, in fact, in Yankee Stadium. But listen, he's rebounded, and he's thrown some nice ball in Toronto yesterday and today.
And similar to Shun Yamaguchi, where maybe if you're not getting the most high leverage innings, you might not think too much of it, but the body of work he's put in has looked impressive, and you go multiple innings and you keep the run count pretty low. No matter when those innings are, you string together 2 or 3, it's going to be impressive.
2-2 count to Guerrero Jr., the cleanup hitter, takes inside, full count.
And it's easy to say on the day he has a big home run that he's looked impressive, but even beyond the home run, he had a deep fly to center, and he worked a nice walk in his first at-bat. That was a 2-out walk that kept the inning going before Jansen's big home run.
As that one is cranked foul. Grichuk will be off on the throw. 2-out payoff is flown into center. And that one's going to drop for a base hit. Gardner a little nonchalant. It looked like he was preparing for the bounce anyways, however, and that'll drive in a run.
Well, with 2 outs, Grichuk was running as soon as contact was made, and I think Gardner knew that he had no chance to try and get Grichuk as this ball was hanging up in center field. So the Yankees taking their time, they'll concede that run, and Guerrero drives in another run today. That's his 2nd run driven in. The first one he drove himself in. Now he drives in Grichuk.
So Shaw steps in, takes low ball 1. He RBI, or he had a single. Got himself an RBI in the first. Which feels like a millennial ago, to be honest with you. Millennium ago, I should say. but yeah, it's been a long one. Lots of runs scored since then, I'll tell you that. That was the first run of the game, and now we've had 21 since then. 20, I should say.
Quite a day. I mean, really couldn't have expected it after yesterday's very closely fought game, but hey, I mean, that's baseball. One day looks very close, and it's a 4-3 game. The other day, the teams combined for 21 runs in a slugfest.
And so it'll be fascinating to see what unfolds tomorrow. Of course, with the Yankees most likely taking both these first two games. But Nate Pearson on the mound for the Jays making his Major League debut. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, that should be exciting. I mean, even after today, you've got that to look forward to as a Jays fan. And even if maybe the pitching wasn't the sharpest today, the bats have looked pretty good. You've seen lots of solid at-bats as Shaw works another walk. And tomorrow you've got all sorts of hope in the pitching once again as it's Nate Pearson. Who knows what he's going to do? Almost a blank canvas as he gets a fresh start on a 2020 season after looking very good in AAA Buffalo.
Sure has. And the Jays could really use a win tomorrow. Right? I mean, they've only been swept, quote unquote, against the Phillies, and that was a 2-game interleague set, so I don't know how much you really count that. As Jansen drives one foul, or in front of the seats there, on the right field side, but certainly want to avoid the sweep, especially against a team that they're competing with in this division.
Nope, up there.
And now it'll be Sessa on the mound. The guy really, his strongest pitch is the slider. And he's got a fastball in the low to mid-90s, but mostly a two-pitch pitcher. You'll see him throw a changeup rarely, usually against righties.
Oof, that one looked good, but just sails foul.
And Sessa, probably the lowest leverage guy in this pen, because outside of him, you've really just got all-stars in this stacked pen.
Not a bad problem to have, necessarily. Jansen's 2 for 3. A 3-run shot in the first, and he strikes out here. Sanchez finishes off the play by throwing to first, so Jays tack on a run, but it's still a 14-7 game here as we head to the 8th in Toronto. It's funny, Drew. I'm looking up and down this lineup card. I can't see one hitter for the Yankees that's had a bad day.
I mean, the closest you're going to get is it's been Clint Frazier, who's just 1 for 5 with a run scored and an RBI. But, I mean, he'll take that down in the 8th hole if you're getting an RBI and a run scored as part of a rally from a guy that's, you know, maybe not the strongest bat in the lineup, because it's just been hit after hit after hit and everybody pitching in.
Each runner's come around to score. Each runner has a base hit. Yeah, I'd agree with that. You see Tyler Way, the guy who's had 5 of them. 5 base hits, a great play defensively in the 6th on an Alford drive that was looking to be destined for the outfield with a runner on first. And alas, Wade made an excellent play on the lineout. He's in a 1-2 count now.
Far and away the best game of his career. Second best was July 11th of 2018, where he went 3 for 5 at Camden Yards. It's the only other game in his career where he's had more than 2 hits. Today, 5, a big standout performance.
And this will be the first time he's retired all day. What a day for him. Congrats to him on that. As we see a look at these starters, neither one of them went very long or were very effective.
Well, you got to give credit to J.A. Happ because his afternoon, should I say, was a really rough start. Home run early, an RBI single before it, so it was the 4 spot heading into the top of the second. And it's, of course, a little extra motivation playing in Toronto where he spent so much time as a Blue Jay, but you'd think mentally it'd be easy to kind of quit and psych yourself out against this lineup that jumps on you so early. But he battled and he really found his second gear. Because you said it best yourself, usually the second and third time through the order, hitters get better as they see a pitcher more, but he was the one getting better. And his best few innings were his third time facing these Jays.
Herrera flies out to center, so Grichuk makes the play.
The second baseman.
First baseman's retired, so they'll bring up DJ LeMahieu with 2 out.
And we talked about Nate Pearson coming up tomorrow. Take a quick look around what the Jays minor leaguers did in the month of April. First, Nate Pearson put up a 1.91 ERA in 33 innings with 40 strikeouts.
As LeMahieu singles there.
And in his AAA rotation mates, we saw a great performance from TJ Zoik, but they also got some great hitting, as Jonathan Davis hit .324 with 12 RBIs. Very different than Caleb Joseph. And Caleb Joseph was a guy that the Jays signed similar to Joe Panik, a guy who had done it in the major leagues and good on both sides of the ball. He's not off to a great start in AAA, we should say. 107 in 56 at-bats as a starting catcher for Buffalo. So Bat not looking good in AAA. He's probably the next man up if there's an injury to one of these two catchers. And one of the next guys up if there's an injury to a pitcher, Jacob Wagsback. Talked about him on the broadcast. How about a 14.6 ERA? Not overly pretty. A lot of that's come from his lack of control. He's started 4 games but pitched only 12 in the third innings. And that's because he's given up 12 walks across those frames. Not pretty from him.
Ball 4 called to Torres here. Yeah, so some interesting reports there from the farm. And yeah, Nate Pearson, you see what happens with a hot start at AAA. I think we all knew Pearson was going to come up at some point. Probably earlier than some may have expected, especially with the Anderson trade. Kind of thrust him into the role. I'm sure the last 48 hours have been an absolute whirlwind for the kid. But yeah, he's going to have a real opportunity. I'm sure we'll see a couple more hitters from that AAA squad come up as the season goes on. That one's grounded short, thrown to second for the force out. So we'll head down to the bottom of the 8th. The Jays due up. So they try to generate some offense and perhaps mount a comeback. 14-7 here in Toronto. So it'll be Rowdy Tellez stepping in now against Sessa as he drives one into center field. Gardner going back at the track makes the play. It's interesting. Tellez and Gurriel, the only 2 hitters not to reach base for the Jays today. And Tellez almost just hit one out of the park right there.
Well, they're both 0 for 4, but Tellez, I really thought maybe he'd turn around against Sessa because he's a pretty good matchup. Because Rowdy Tellez loves hitting a fastball and he loves pitches on the inner half. The 2 pitches that Sessa throws as a righty against the lefty bat, the fastball and the slider, both that break on the inside part of the plate towards a bat like Tellez and now a bat like Biggio. And I thought that might be ripe for Tellez to break out.
So let's say the score holds and the Yankees end up winning this one. What's the message from Montoyo in the clubhouse?
Well, tomorrow's a new day. Simple as that. None of the 14 runs against carry over. It's a fresh start. You got to salvage at least one game in this series. You don't want to get swept. you get a great chance to do it tomorrow with Nate Pearson, the epitome of a fresh start on the mound for you.
No kidding. New beginnings, if you will. As Biggio strikes out swinging, Sessa gets him on that high offering. His first strikeout of the day. Biggio's, that is. I'll bring up Anthony Alford, who doubled in the second. And he was the victim of that great defensive play by Tyler Wade.
We saw Alford pinch run last night as the Jays tried to make a last-ditch effort to tie the game up against Chapman. He came in to run for Joe Panik. The last game that he got into as a starter was the final game of the Baltimore series. We played all 3 games. He didn't get an at-bat against Boston. So far, so mixed results today.
Strikes out there, back-to-back Ks for Sessa to get through what was a very quick bottom of the 8th inning. We'll head to the 9th. Yankees lead big on the virtual Jays Network.
Your attention, please.
Welcome back, everyone. So, we'll see Jordan Romano in the 9th for the Blue Jays here, the Canadian.
Romano gets a chance to pitch. He's got 2 saves on the year for the Jays. One interesting, his first save less interesting than his second save, should I say. He came in against, I believe it was the Twins way back towards the beginning of the year, where Giles had pitched 3 days in a row. They didn't want to push it to 4, so Romano got a 4-out save. And yes, it was against the Twins. That was his first outing of the year. And then his last save, a little controversial, lifted in place of Giles after Giles was 1 out away from saving the game himself against Boston back this past Tuesday. Romano came in, picked up the save, his second of the year. He's 1-0. He also picked up a win in Boston. He received the win after Reese McGuire hit that late inning home run off of Darwinzon Hernandez in the top of the 9th inning.
Yeah, Romano, part of a bit of controversy the other night when he was brought in for Giles with 2 away. Giles the chance to break history, to break that record for most saves before May 1st. He ended up doing the night after, so it's not a big deal, but some question marks at the time. I was furious. I think a lot of Jays fans were furious too. Hard to justify that. Full count to Sanchez, fouled off.
Romano's just gotten in 4 games. The 3 we talked about, the 2 saves and the win. Also pitched an inning in the 3rd against the Twins in a different game. So this is just his 5th game of the year, despite the fact that we're well into the season now in May, and he made the team at the camp.
A good chance to get him in now, low leverage situation. So we walk Sanchez. I'll bring up Gardner, who only 1 for 5 on the day, sure, but he also had a 3-run shot. He's 3 for 8 this series with 2 home runs. Does he love Rogers Center or what? Starts off with ball 1.
Well, he sure does, and he's done nothing but add to it so far this series. Talked about how he had career highs in total bases, home runs, and triples in this park, more than any other park outside of his home Yankee Stadium. And yeah, 2 big home runs, 1 last night, 1 this afternoon. The one this afternoon, louder than the first one, no doubt about it, off of his bat. And he just keeps adding to what's been a storied career here visiting Toronto.
Two to Gardner, fouled off. The Yankees' whole career, this man Brett Gardner, and he dishes another deep shot to center field. That one's gone. 8 home runs on the year for Brett Gardner, and 3 this series, 2 this game. What a day, what a series.
Why not for Brett Gardner? Add on another one. At this point, it's just about getting to the finish line for these Blue Jays as they continue to get battered by this Yankees offense. That one just about as sky high as the previous home run. No doubt about either of those. Romano just turns and watches that one fly as that's the 16th run of the game for the Yankees.
2-run shot to right center for the veteran Gardner. Just about to talk how he's always had such a balance in his career, being able to hit for some pop, but also be a great athlete, both defensively and offensively. We see it there. As Frazier pops out, or flies out rather, to right. Alfred makes the play, so 1 away now. Now Talkman up now. Starts off with a strike. So now 0-2 to Talkman. 2 for 5 in the day. A couple flyouts, a strikeout in the third, and 2 singles.
Jays have only allowed 16 runs twice since 2017, both coming last year. Both actually, believe it or not, coming against National League West teams. Once was a game where the Padres came to Toronto, won that game 19-4 with Canadian Cal Quantrill on the mounds. The other game was when the Jays went to Dodger Stadium, and in front of 52,000 fans, the Dodgers beat them 16-3.
One-two to Talkman. That one is flown into left field. Gardner back at the wall. Gone. Mike Talkman, his second home run of this series. His 8th on the season. Wow, quite the stat padding day for these Yankees. My goodness.
And all sorts of batters up and down this lineup came into the day batting over 300. 5 batters in a row, the 7, 8, 9, and 1-2 hitters, all were hitting over 300 entering the day, and whose batting average just continue to climb.
Now Chase Romano after he allows 2 home runs to Gardner and Talkman. Thomas Pannone now, the lefty.
And the Jays just about running out of arms in their pen. As Pannone enters the game, that's their 5th reliever used so far today. It's just Bass, Giles, and Miller left there today.
As that one's hitting to right. And Alfred's there to make the play as Wade's retired.
And I'm sure Montoya would have rather not have had to use Pannone today. Again, the sole lefty in that pen, a guy who we saw pitch in last night's game, and a guy you probably want to have ready for tomorrow. So if he only has to face 2 or 3 batters today, maybe that'll still be the case, but you'd hope that Romano would have been able to finish this inning.
So Biggio makes the play to first. Yankees are retired, but not before tacking on 3 more runs. 2 home runs from Gardner and Talkman. It's a 10-run lead for New York. Bottom of the 9th up next here in Toronto. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. If you're still with us, we appreciate you joining us for this game. It's gotten a little out of hand, 17-7 for the Yankees here. Luis says is still in the game for the Yanks. So it'll be 1-2-3, Bichette, Gurriel, Grichuk. And this game, believe it or not, was actually pretty even. The Jays were controlling the pace early on. They scored 4 runs in the first. They were up 4-0. Jansen hits a 3-run shot. Shaw with an RBI single. The next inning, Bichette gets himself an RBI single. Following in, Guerrero Jr. with the home run. Kept giving the Jays the lead, kept putting them in front, but Tanner Roark, and frankly, couldn't do much against the Yankees. None of these pitchers could today for the Blue Jays. It was just a different beast, this Yankees lineup. 17 runs, 20-plus hits, 3 different home runs, and I don't even want to count how many singles.
And that's the 3rd time in Blue Jays history they've surrendered 17 runs and 25 hits as Bichette goes down looking at that fastball on the outer part of the plate. The only 2 other times they've done it, 1992 against the Brewers where the Jays lost 22-2, and then back in 79 against the California Angels, which was a 24-2 defeat. So this game a little closer than either of those because they're at the very least able to muster 7 runs of offense themselves. And, I mean, it's just as historical for the Yankees. They've only hit 17 runs and 25 hits just 5 times in their storied history. The first time way back in 1939 against the Philadelphia Athletics, and the most recent time that stacked 2007 lineup that beat the Tampa Bay Devil Rays at the time 21-4.
Oh, man. Now, they sure have had some stacked teams in New York. Looks like they might have another one this year. 2-2 as that pitch misses inside. So Gurriel Jr. 0 for 4. Him and Tellez, the only hitters not to reach today for the Blue Jays. In fact, they are the only hitless Blue Jays as well in this one. As that one's popped up, Sanchez behind the plate makes the play. So, 2 are retired here quickly, and the Jays are on their final out. It'll be Randall Grichuk.
Grichuk was in that same group with Gurriel and Tellez right up until his last at-bat where he doubled and later scored. That was the double that was hit down the line, bounced out of play. One of his many doubles hit against the shift, something he's done time and time again this year, just slicing balls into right field despite the defenses continuing to play him to pull.
So the Yankees will advance to 22-12 on the year. Meanwhile, the Blue Jays will fall to 19-14.
Nope, upstairs.
So quickly here, the Yankees back up 2.5 games here in the AL East after this one finishes up. And so tomorrow really is a big game for that reason, as the Jays try to keep this gap between them and the Yankees slim. If they win tomorrow, they will gain a game back. And hey, what better timing than Nate Pearson's debut? Of course, who knows what to expect from that, but be sure to join us for full coverage. As Grichuk singles into right, keeps things going for the Jays here. He's 2 for 5 on the day.
And these two teams, surprisingly, actually won't face each other again until July 3rd. They don't play each other at all for the rest of the month of May or the month of June, as the Jays head to a pretty National League heavy stretch, where before they face the Yankees again, they'll first face the Brewers, the Cardinals, and the Pirates. But yeah, they'll face New York just before the All-Star break, and a lot of time to even out these standings before they'll face head-to-head once again.
0-2 to Guerrero Jr.
1 ball, 2
Taken, ball 1. Yeah, so if you are a Yankees fan, be sure to join us tomorrow then, because it's the last chance to see this team for a little while here.
I got the count. 2-2.
Same thing with the Red Sox. Jays won't see them until July as well, so... probably a good thing against the Yankees, especially after a game like today. Not so much against the Red Sox, who they perform well against. But the Yankees finish off this one. They'll advance to 22-12 on the year. As I mentioned, the Jays now fall to 19-14.
And a big difference here today from the Jays team we've seen most of the year. A lot of it you can credit to Tanner Roark just not having his stuff, but even looking beyond what Tanner Roark allowed, the rest of the Jays pitching staff didn't quite have it. Now, you've got to admit they were taxed for quite a bit as Roark's day ended early, but it just wasn't the complete performance that we've seen quite a bit from this Blue Jays team. We mentioned earlier their biggest defeat was just 8-3, and well, sure, 8-3 you could consider a bit of a blowout. Nothing anywhere close to this 17-7 defeat. And for the Jays, really the only takeaway is that tomorrow's a fresh day, and they've got to put this behind them as fast as they can.
This one mercifully ends 17-7. Happ picks up the win despite allowing 6 earned. That tells you a lot about how things went in today's contest. The Yankees put up 25 hits. Is there a silver lining for the Jays, Drew? And if so, what is that?
I think the silver lining is just that it's a bit of a test to see what your team's got. Not just here today being borderline embarrassed by this Yankees team, but looking into tomorrow. Like, what does this team have after their first real challenge of adversity? You mentioned most of their games were close and down to the wire. Now this will vault their run differential well into the negatives as they lose by 10. And what's this team going to do tomorrow? How do they bounce back? Does this affect Tanner Roark the rest of the year? Does this affect some of the young pitchers like Jordan Romano, who had a very unsuccessful outing? Does this shake Shun Yamaguchi or Wilmer Font, who had great starts through the year? Does this throw them off? Is the Jays' offense able to rebound from a guy like, for example, Rowdy Tellez or Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who sees offense all around them on both sides of the plate, both sides of the field? The Yankees and the Blue Jays both, and Gurriel goes 0-for-5 on the day. Does that get into his head? Really all sorts of questions that you can start to ask once you've been tested, and the Jays certainly tested today.
Lots of good questions. We'll see if tomorrow's game yields any answers. It's a 1:07 start time. Bettis goes for the Yankees, and Nate Pearson, his Major League debut, as we've talked about. Be sure to tune in. Get full coverage of that here on the Virtual Jays Network. And so for Drew Frank, my name is Jackson Farough. We thank you for joining us today. And if you're still here, thank you so much. We really mean that. For sticking around to see the Yankees beat the Blue Jays 17-7. We'll see if the Jays can salvage this series tomorrow afternoon. Have a great evening, everyone.